Hi, it's Joy, and today I'm going to be watching Percy Jackson and the Olympians Season 1, Episode 8, The Prophecy Comes True. The season finale is here. I feel like the show started yesterday. Now, obviously, it started forever ago before Christmas, but how are we already at the finale? I do not know, but I have loved it. I know the show has faced a fair share of criticisms for pacing, for not being 100% accurate to the books. Now, I think all of the changes from the books, bearing in mind that I do not have like a picture-perfect memory of the books, I feel like this is the tone of the characters and the tone of what's happening, and there always will be changes from book to screen because that's just the way media works, and the two different forms of media, things that work perfectly well on a page do not work perfectly well in the book. In terms of pacing, I haven't minded too much. I feel like it stayed fairly consistent with the pacing of the book. But the most important thing to me has been the characterization, and that has been spot on. I've been loving it, and I'm quite scared for the finale and all of these babies are going to be going through, and then all they've got to come in the season today. I mean, I'm anxious about the renewal because I'm always anxious about renewals because, like, the number of times I've been burnt before, but I'm also like, this is the most successful premiere of any Disney Plus show, right? So, like, shortly? But yes, very excited for this. Love the first season. Reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon, and let's go. Flashback of training.
Which is good.
It would have been nice to see more of this and their friendship in the earlier
camera.
episodes.
There's all kinds of examples. Like
single combat.
Sweetheart. Bless Percy.
Do you accept?
He's grown so much already over the course of this show.
It wasn't your plan, though, was it?
Mm-hmm.
It was Kronos. It was for your dreams.
Yeah. Percy.
Gods don't dream, little man, and no one tells the god of war how to start a fight.
Sure.
Huh?
Percy. Sweet baby hero. Ares could easily have drawn first blood. Percy must have a plan, right? We're by the water. He's landed in a puddle.
Find out who I am.
Little beautiful baby. You drew first blood. Our tiny baby hero beat you.
And you thought you were just a kid.
She's so proud of him.
What you really won today? An enemy for life.
I mean, you
Congrats.
wanted to kill him, so that's hardly a huge turn of events.
Living up to my end of the bargain.
Mm-hmm.
Tell Hades I expect him to do the same.
Sally raised a wonderful boy.
Please. I have to.
What for? The quest failed. We missed the deadline.
This is bigger than the quest.
Mm-hmm.
See, you don't want Zeus's attention.
I gotta tell him about Kronos.
Lovely,
You see
brave
how
boy.
frightened Hades was about the idea. You two gotta go to camp.
Sally really raised
Now
him
that
to
we
know who he
Eris and
was,
Clarice were working for,
know his
someone
own
has to
worth
carry
within
out.
this world.
I'm done running from monsters.
Percy.
This is too important.
I love that he includes the
I have
gods
to
with the
try.
monsters when they want to be acting monstrously. Ooh,
You're gonna need all the luck you can get.
bless. She already cares about him so much.
Just for clarity, how sure are we you can just explain everything in an email?
Where's the glory in that?
Holy shit.
But they have to play by the rules.
yes.
And they create demigods.
I love
so
how
we
we're
can break the
interspersing
rules
it with
for
these
them.
flashbacks.
Shouldn't they be just as afraid of us as we are of them?
We have to be really careful with this.
Has Percy
What do you
figured it
mean?
out already? Not said
Annabeth
anything
is
for
terrified of
Annabeth.
spiders. Things that are small and scary
Yep.
get squished.
Brave boy. His final on-screen performance, right? Or his final televised performance, which is just so sad. So young.
It was Kronos.
He has set the pieces in motion.
Thank you for the news. It is the only reason I'm letting you leave alive.
Jesus Christ. Good old gods.
I have a war to
At least I don't
prosecute
pretend to be
now.
good.
So when I say,
But the war can't continue.
boy,
Why wage war against Poseidon when you know it's what
the
Kronos
war
wants?
proceeds.
I thought you might listen. Kronos wants you to fight my father. He
Mm-hmm.
wants you both weakened.
I will not be weakened by my brothers.
You already are. Your family is a mess.
He's
They
not
don't
wrong.
support you because they love. They obey because they're afraid.
Sally
Ares,
really raised him to
your
know the
son,
real weight of the
he
world.
turned on you. How afraid of you do you think they'll be when your dad shows up looking to put you back in your place?
Poseidon! His dad.
I surrender.
What? I surrender.
Take your victory. Just spare my son.
He's a real
You
dad
have forbidden son,
when it matters.
who should have never been born.
Yeah, you had a daughter.
The same as your Thalia.
It's your dad. Poseidon is definitely up there with the godly parents. So I've been thinking about it a lot this week. I don't know why. I mean, I love the shows, right? And the world, so I think about it a lot anyway. But, like, I wonder how much of it is in a way because Poseidon's kids are forbidden, so he literally just has, like, Percy. I mean, I know there's, like, other characters and, like, creatures and whatnot, but, like, whereas, like, Athena has, like, a dozen kids. Like, she can just keep having kids if she wants. Aphrodite, as many kids as she can feel like. So, like, as in real life, I'm not saying people with loads of kids don't love their kids, but I feel like it's easier to have a close bond or really care with, like, one than it is with, like, 50.
We'll declare my swift and crushing victory. And then discuss
How petty can you be?
family business.
But that is Zeus through and through.
Make sure I never see this one again.
Yeah, definitely never will. Hey, Dad. Hey, son.
Chiron has taught you well.
I didn't learn it from Chiron.
Your mother taught you ancient Greek.
She taught me a lot of things.
Everything he knows.
You ever dream about Mom?
Oh. Sweet Percy.
You should be going.
I mean, it wasn't quite the reunion first meeting of dreams, but a godly parent meetings with the demigods. Hi, Talia. It wasn't bad. Thalia. I always read it as Talia. It's Thalia. Who stole the lightning bolt? Swords forged forever.
Do you see her yet?
Exactly. Without proof, it would have lit this whole place.
Percy has not figured out.
Now you're back.
Don't know how we could have done really, but
You still talk without any of Clarice's supporters noticing.
I'll keep an eye on Chloe while you're gone.
oh, Annabeth.
Make sure she isn't going.
My babies. I feel a little bit sick.
Talk about a celebration.
Percy and
They
Annabeth.
pulled out all the stops.
Everything the Oracle said has either come true or makes sense.
Other than the friend betraying him.
By one who calls you a friend.
Fucking hell.
Because you knew that Clarice didn't steal the bolt.
Percy. Percy, my darling, I'm sorry.
Am your friend. Percy, none of this was meant to betray you.
Luke believes this.
The gods are my enemy. You?
Neglect your kids,
Easy.
and they will turn on
I don't
you.
want to fight. The gods want us to fight for them. Worship them. Fear them. And they couldn't care less what we want.
Luke, your anger.
Bad parents, Percy.
It's just
And they've gotten...
so hard. I'll have to go back 10 seconds because I
We're-
interrupted him. Like, Luke's anger, his hatred, his motivations are all coming from a reality. They are stemming from real wrongs the gods have done and from how ridiculous, in a lot of ways, the gods' demanding of worship, etc. is, how badly they treat their children. He's right, but why at the extreme, like joining Kronos, is wrong. And it's just like, there is another way. I don't know what the other way is, but it's just so sad to see.
To them.
He's just a
couldn't care
lost
less
kid
what
at
we
this
want.
point,
They're bad parents, Percy.
making shit choices.
And they've...
This isn't you. This is
Mm.
Kronos.
It is.
He got to you.
No,
He's
he
been
opened my
groomed
eyes
and
to the
manipulated.
truth.
But he's making his own choices as well. Percy.
Our parents aren't perfect, but they're trying their best. I met your dad.
You did get better.
There is another way than this, Luke.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
He doesn't want to fight you, Luke. You stupid kid. Oh, Annabeth, I'm sorry.
Annabeth.
I didn't think I'd cry.
Heard everything.
Because I knew it was coming. Sorry, my loves. He is a stupid boy, manipulated into making the wrong choices at every turn.
When Luke explained why he planned to take down Olympus, part of it made sense to you, didn't it?
It does make sense.
Luke knows that
It's
you'd
just
be a
making
powerful
going around all
ally
the
to
wrong
his
ways to
cause.
do it.
And his... You have made me very proud.
Me too, my sweet Percy.
Great.
I do wonder, like, if Poseidon hadn't shown up, if he'd managed to talk Zeus down some other way, if he hadn't had that face-to-face with his father, would Percy have thought differently? Would Luke's offer have been that little bit more tempting? I don't think it would have been. I think the truth is that the methods Luke is going about working with Kronos, Percy can see so clearly how that manipulation has been done through Luke's dreams, like it was through Percy's dreams, pushing him to this point of doing things that are just... Joining Kronos is never going to be the right answer. I don't know what... I mean, I've read the book, so I have ideas about where the plot's going to go, but I do not know right now what you would do to try and make a difference, how you would do it in another way that wasn't working with Kronos, but working with Kronos is not the answer.
You're
Just
here.
destroying it is not the answer.
I was. Thank you.
I'm so excited
Oh,
for
thank
season
you,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14,
No matter what happens, we meet back here next year. All of us. Right here.
my babies. Deal. Season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. Group hug. Forever. I'm gonna miss having these adventures every week.
Percy?
You did it, baby. You love each other so much. No. No. He's gonna have his reunion, right?
So when you are serious,
Percy.
Is my hope. Your survival is the key to my return.
Oh, thanks. She's your mum, you can tell her.
Don't forget to tell your mom how much you love her today. Could have.
Percy. You successfully distracted her, but you need to share your burdens with people that love you. Okay, sweetie?
My wife is divorcing me, and on top of that, I gotta pay you too? How
Okay,
is
good.
that fair?
They didn't adequately show how...
Who told you to take out...
They didn't actually show how abusive he was. And just vile.
Return to sender.
Poor Medusa.
That is gross.
Poor Medusa. I have loved this season. I have no complaints. Like, it has just been fun. Every week when I turned it on, I knew without a doubt I was in for an adventure, to have a good time with these characters bursting into life on my screen. I've enjoyed every episode. I've enjoyed the way they have told the story, the way that I've enjoyed the changes. Some things have been like brought up a little bit into like the modern era, into probably how they would be written if they were being written now. Some things just have to be done differently because it is different when you take something from the page to the screen. The young actors were phenomenal. They all did such a good job. With any show with kids as the main cast, there's always going to be a concern. Less so because you're like, well, they've got the part, so they have to be good. But they all did such a brilliant job. The supporting cast around them was also all fantastic. They really brought the world of Percy Jackson to life beautifully. Now, I had that feeling of like welling up of like tears in my eyes. They didn't fall, but like when Annabeth and Luke like had that moment, it got me. And I going into this, I was worried that moments like that wouldn't affect me because having read the book, I knew it was coming. Always when you're completely like blindsided by something, it's gonna affect you more. But it was just all done so well, from the fight with Ares on the beach to with Percy using, you know, Percy definitely is a cocky little soul and we love him for it. But watching him just shine and believing in himself, I think that is something that is so beautiful to see with these kids. Believing in each other and believing in themselves when it counts. Then facing Zeus and saying no. Like, Percy, that is something they really reinforced in the show, is that Sally wanted to raise him without knowledge of being a half-blood, without knowledge of camp half-blood, without camp half-blood, so that he would know who he was before he entered into the world of the gods and their demands and just the way things work. And I really think this show has exemplified that beautifully. And like, book Percy was the same, but the show has just really kind of explained and then shown it, in that Percy walks into this and goes, no, I'm not just going to accept that you get to do whatever you want just because you're the gods. You can just have a war and cause mass devastation because you're a little bit pissed off with each other. No, that is not right. Like, you know the truth now. Do things a certain way. Now, obviously, he didn't get Zeus to back down. Poseidon surrendered, and then Zeus is going to say, hey, Poseidon surrendered. Though everyone will just be like, yeah, because Kronos was coming and the whole thing was fabricated, you moron. But no one will say that to Zeus's face. Like, it kind of... I like that we see Percy standing up to these gods, but also like he is still respectful towards them. You know, he doesn't have that kind of like, I don't know, like, oh, he's still respectful to them as his elders, as people in positions of power. Like, he calls Poseidon sir. When he gave Zeus the bowl, he kind of had his head down a little bit. Like, he is still a polite child unless they push him, and then he's like, no, that is unacceptable behavior, I'm calling you out on it. And I love him for that so much. Sally really grounded him in all the best ideals to make him the best possible version of himself. And he's so young still. He has so far to go and so much to go through, and I'm emotional about it. So that was fantastic. And then the moment when Poseidon appeared and, you know, surrendered for Percy. Poseidon is one of the better godly parents. You know, if I was picking a godly parent, he would be up there in my choices. I would need to know a little bit more about the minor deities, I think, because I probably wouldn't want to be a big threes. I mean, I definitely wouldn't want to be a forbidden child, and like, there's a lot of stress. Like, we haven't heard about a certain prophecy yet, but like, there's a lot of stresses that come with being a big forbidden three. And then even like Athena, Ares, Aphrodite, one of the main gods, again, a little too much pressure for me. I'll take a lesser deity no one really cares about, and I'll hang out over there. that he would be up there. Now, part of me, like I phrased in the episode, I do wonder if a little bit of how much he cares about Percy is because Percy is his demigod son, whereas like Athena has a cabin full. Like they all have more than a normal human would ever have of kids. So kind of it's easier to pour everything into one child than it is 100. I don't know how many demigod kids they each actually have, but cabins full. So it's interesting in that regard, but I also you get the sense that Poseidon would it's kind of just in his nature to care. Um, but again, even with that, his reunion with Percy wasn't exactly a "oh my son, I am sorry I've been away all these years, I love you so dearly." There was genuine emotion there. You could feel that he did care about him. It was a decent reunion. It was up there, but again, it wasn't like "oh, I'm so sorry I've not been in your life. I love you, my son. Come to me." It was still kind of god to demigod. There was still a degree of, and some of that was simply because of the fact that he hadn't been in his life. So I think they did it well. With Poseidon, didn't act 100% like a father would upon meeting his child for the first time, but he also acted with a lot more care and empathy than perhaps some of the other gods would. I am especially, I can't speak, especially excited to meet other gods as we go forward in this show, to meet Athena, to meet Hera, to meet all of these other characters that I know so well and to see how they interact with the demigods. But yes, it was definitely just so well done. And that moment for Percy. And you could see that they both do care about Sally. Now, the threat of Kronos is looming large. He is grooming and manipulating gods and demigods alike. Obviously, having known all season that Luke was going to be the one that betrayed him, I'm kind of assuming people that watch reactions have read the books and know, so I was never like 100. I don't think I ever outright said it was him, and I tried to not give it away too much. If I did, I'm really sorry if you found out it was him early because of my reactions. I'm so sorry. I think there are a few people I've seen on like TikToks and things not knowing, and I don't know how much of that is them genuinely not knowing and how much of that is them just kind of playing along. Because everybody knows, and like if you even watch the movies, you know, if you heard people talking about the movies, you know, like however accurate or inaccurate the movies were, Luke's betrayal, and I do love Jake Abel, Luke's betrayal was there too. But I think it's something that's really interesting. Like I read the first book when the movies came out, and I was a teenager at the time. Again, I was in that age where I was like, oh, these books are meant for kids younger than me, so I'm going to read different books because, you know, you get that phase as a child. I was like, this is good, I'm liking it. Maybe I'll read the rest, and then I just never got around to it because I was like, yeah, it's aimed at middle grade, and I'm like above that, so like I'm not gonna read them. But the first time I read the first book, and when I even watched the first film, Luke, I can't remember how old I exactly was, but Luke was either older or around my age, and so it was not as much a thing as now watching his story. I'm like, you were a child who has been groomed and manipulated and had all of these neglect and these wrongs that have been done to you taken advantage of by somebody else. Does it excuse him making his choices? No, not entirely, but it is so heartbreaking to see because you're like, Luke has a point. When he was railing against the gods, against his father, against the system, he's not wrong. It is fucked up. But choosing to ally with Kronos and assuming he's going to make a golden age is so stupid. There is a decent amount of Luke's motivation that is simply revenge on his father for what he did. But Luke is just a troubled boy, and I think the older you get with this story, the more you can see that, and I think the show did a very good job of showing that. It still did not cast Luke in a great light. He lied to them. He gave Percy the shoes, and he knew he was going down to Tartarus. When Percy hit him during their fight, Percy was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, like, fuck. And Luke immediately responds by slashing back and, like, going for Percy and potentially going to kill Percy in that moment because he didn't want Percy to be able to run back and tell everyone it was Luke. It was only Annabeth that stopped him. And we did also see Luke looking at Annabeth, registering she heard everything. She knows, that absolute sense of, I'm sorry, like, he knew Annabeth would never go with him. And given how much love there is between the two of them, I think it's very interesting that Luke still goes down his path. So I'm very interested to see what they do with Luke going forwards. I don't know how much. I mean, I know certain points when he will be in it if they are true to the books, but I don't know how much we'll see of him. But I think his is just such a fascinating character because he is making all the wrong choices, but considering his age and what he's been through, your heart just breaks for him and you just want to save him from this path. Like, I want to go back to before Kronos got in his head and help him out. But Percy staying strong, standing up to him, working it out a little too late. Like, I almost feel like Annabeth, it never crossed her mind it could be Luke. I mean, and if it did, she immediately dismissed it because in her mind she had evidence that it couldn't be Luke. Percy, I do wonder if there were points where it crossed his mind, because I worried that the show, by kind of like the way the show would talk about how much he hated his dad and all that kind of thing, like you might think, oh, who's going to be motivated to go against the gods? Obviously, Clarice would have been working with her father, which would have been like in line with being not against your parents. But I think it had crossed Percy's mind. Clarice was the more obvious target, being like Ares' daughter. Ares is working with Kronos. Of course, she'd be doing it. So like, I do think he didn't want to believe it, but I think Percy had already entertained the idea, maybe even subconsciously, which is why when it came to it, he was able to put two and two together pretty quickly. Um, and he will not join up with Luke. He can see all the problems with the system, but he knows that starting a war and joining Kronos is not going to fix the problems. It is not the magical solution to everything. But it was still very, very heartbreaking to see in that moment when Annabeth appeared, the pain on her face, on Luke's face as well. It's just a lot. One thing I would have liked would have been a few more moments of character time. And again, I think this show could have done with that. Maybe my one criticism is maybe some more moments where we got to see the characters living in their emotions. But this is something I say in every show I watch. Like, I would have liked to see Annabeth thinking about Luke, talking to someone about Luke in the moment after she found out. Now, I do think we will get moments of that going forwards, but her initial response to realizing that, like, this person she is so close to was the one working against them the whole time, realizing that he didn't try to get her to go along, I guess because he knew she wouldn't. But still, it was very well done with the time they gave this episode. They did it very, very well. And then their pact, Annabeth, I guess we're saying her regret is having severed ties with her father. Now, I'm pretty sure in the book her father was always neglectful towards her, got remarried, had new kids, and was just kind of always a bit neglectful to Annabeth, which is why she left. He wasn't a really great father. Then the stepmother came along and things changed. But I do know at some point in the books she does go back and attempt to make some kind of peace with her father, and she does end up with a better relationship with him. But for this Annabeth, I love that she is going back to rekindle that relationship with her father. I hope he's going to apologise for not always being there for her and be there for her going forwards. Very glad Percy and his mother got his mother back. I imagine he was dreaming about their reunion and then Kronos came and interrupted it. And I love that he is telling her about the nightmares right up to the point where he doesn't tell her about the nightmares. Your survival is the key. Like, tell her that's what he said, okay, sweetheart? Tell her you can't go through this alone. You're so small and young and sweet, and you're so good and brave and wonderful, and already 1,000 times more capable than I would be in your shoes. But, like, tell someone about it. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I adore this show. I adore Grover with his Searchers license. He's off to find Pan. They've all agreed they're going to meet up again and they're going to love each other forever. And I love them so much. And this show has been a delight every week. Like, I obviously love reacting. It's why I do it. But sometimes kind of you can be a bit like, oh, like my brain, I don't want to engage it today. Oh, I need to react. And every time I have that feeling, by the time I press play and the episode started, it's gone away because I love doing it. I love watching shows. I've never had that feeling with Percy Jackson even once. I'm like, yes, Percy Jackson, let's go. So I'm devastated that it's not going to be on every week, but I am counting on that season 2 renewal, and I don't know how far they will go with the show, whether we will just get the original Percy Jackson books, whether they will move on to the Heroes of Olympus and beyond. I hope they do. I guess it will depend with how well the show continues to do, but the first season has done very well in my opinion. It was phenomenal. I have loved it, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed my reactions. I hope you enjoyed this show. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of these reactions on my Patreon, and thank you so much for watching.